Hello Spectrumites and welcome to Autism Actually. Today I'm going to be talking about 10 things to expect at high school as an autistic student. What I'm about to be discussed is based on my personal experiences in high school being on the spectrum. These experiences may not be shared with other autistic individuals. Uniform. In high school you'll probably get different uniforms for different seasons, so you might have a summer, winter and sports uniform. So that's just something to keep in mind, and sometimes some days you may have to take more than one with you, especially if you're doing a sports subject. Not all schools allow you to wear a sports uniform when you have a sports day until you get to the sports subject. You may have to also wear things like a blazer and tie for formal occasions. Doing up ties can be a challenge for some autistic students, especially those who may have gross motor coordination issues. If you're having trouble with this, don't feel like you can't ask for help. Ask your parents to help you do up your tie. There may be tutorials that show you visually how to do it to help you out. And parents, if this is an ongoing issue, this may require a chat with the school for an alternate option to a tie if it's too difficult. You may experience sensory issues with the uniform. Sometimes I found the fabric very scratchy, the colour. Some people find it difficult being constrained at the neck, and the texture and the fit and that sort of thing. I was able to negotiate with the school to get pants that looked similar to the school uniform, but that had a more comfortable fabric for me. So sometimes this may require negotiation and adjustments, and if you're a school educator watching, I would just love you to know that if we're wearing comfortable clothing, it will enhance our learning experience and will be one less thing to worry about. So if possible, try and be a bit flexible with the uniform if we are experiencing sensory difficulties. Number 2, daily routine. Daily routine of high school can differ from primary school. We have to go to different classrooms and locations. Often we have one teacher per subject, some might overlap. High school is also much bigger than primary school generally. For example, I went to a primary school with 350 students. I went to a high school that started off quite small at 400 and then it increased to 1,000. So that was a lot of a difference. Bigger campuses as well and things like that. We also have lockers which require locker keys. This will require skills such as fine motor skills and muscle memory. I just had to practice. It took me a long time to learn, and if I didn't practice with my locker key for a while, I'd actually forget how to do it. So I started in primary school in grade 6 just learning how to turn the locker. But if you're still struggling, maybe a simple lock might help. So I know some of my friends have used 3 number combinations or word combinations, but remember, if you're getting one that needs a key, you have to take a key to school. So if you choose a key option, it may be worth getting something like a lanyard or even leaving a spare key at the front office. So then if you forget it, you can actually still get into your locker. You also may have friends in different classes or groups. So you may share a class with your friend in science, but you may have a different schedule for maths and English. Electives. Sometimes you get to choose them early on, it just depends what school you go to. So there's sort of like additional subjects to your core subjects. You may start to take public transport to go home or to school. Sometimes, depending on where you live, there might be school buses that come near your area and you have to go meet the school bus in the morning at a certain time. Hygiene. This is a rather important one. As we're going through changes with our hormones and things like that, often we need to shower more and dress more, and this goes for girls as well. So instead of, for example, taking a shower once every 2 days or 3 days, you may have to start taking it every day. For me personally, that was very difficult for me to track, so I had to have a daily schedule to remind me to shower and put on deodorant every day and basic self-care tasks, and obviously making sure your hair is brushed and all that sort of thing. I'm lucky that I'm sensitive to my own body odour and hate the smell, so I know when I need to shower. But some autistics can become accustomed to it, so just be aware of that. Time management. Getting to classes on time is very important. At my school we had a 10-minute rule, so if you were late to class more than 10 minutes, you weren't allowed in. You had to go to what was equivalent to the library to study. So you may need reminders of your phones, like a 30-minute reminder, 5-minute reminder, so you can get to class on time. And make sure to leave enough buffer room for things like getting to your locker and getting your stuff. because that can take up to 5 to 10 minutes depending how slow you are. Orientation days or weeks, you often have these as you're transitioning to high school. This tends to happen at the start of the year, but again it varies for different schools. Think of it more as a trial classes with example teachers, so even though you might have a schedule in place for that week, the teachers you end up getting might be different. So just think of it as getting used to teachers and what subjects you like and who you're comfortable talking to. And if you're finding it difficult to find a teacher you feel comfortable with, it may be worth speaking to your parents and meeting some more teachers, because I think having someone at school who you can talk to if you have issues or just need someone to chat to is really important and really helped me. And the first week of school, probably I would expect a lot of getting to know you and icebreaker type socializing activities. So if you're like me and eager to get into study, am I the only one here? Don't worry, because the other weeks will get more into a structure, but you know, even in my university we have icebreaker activities and introductions to the courses and things like that. So it's a good thing to get used to. Communicating to others about our autism can be challenging at times. I definitely empathise there, but please respect your own needs. Don't push yourself to breaking point. It's not worth it, and there's no one right way to approach this. It's up to you whether you disclose your diagnosis to other kids. You can be as vague as, I have a big interest in horses, but sometimes I find it hard asking for help. Or things like, I may appear to be rude, but I don't mean to, please understand this. So over time, you may find that you get more comfortable with people and then disclose your autism. Again, it just depends, and it's up to you. For example, I initially told my friends to pull me up if I appeared rude and to understand that I have particular sensory issues and anxiety problems that may manifest in strange behaviours. And then later, when I built up a friendship and trust with them, I disclosed them about my autism, and they were very supportive with me. If you're concerned about this issue, definitely speak to your parents. You do not have to go through this alone. As I said before, there are a variety of ways to approach this. I stood up and spoke about my autism to my peers in Year 7, but I didn't refer to myself, so I used other examples. But some students still didn't understand, and I had to learn to accept that understanding wouldn't occur immediately, and not everyone's open to learning. And this is a really hard lesson that I found very challenging, but over time you will find people that will be willing to learn and understand from you, so be reassured of that. In terms of your teachers, speak to them about your autism in whichever communication is easier for you. So for me, when I wanted them to know about my sensory issues and accommodations I'd like, I actually wrote up a document about myself, my autism, and what it means to me. And then my mum went into a session with them and presented it for me, because I wasn't at the point where I was confident enough to face them and speak to them. And that built for me over time. If you're finding it too hard telling yourself, it may be easier to get an autistic person to come in, like an autistic adult, to speak to the students and staff. And who knows, maybe you could do it with another autistic individual or discuss with them ways going forward. I met a few amazing autistic speakers, and here I am today, so be careful, it's addictive. Social dynamics. Social dynamics I found change very quickly as soon as I hit high school. Particularly girls on the spectrum may find the social behaviour of neurotypical girls very confusing and illogical. This was my experience, and then especially as a gender diverse individual who kind of didn't fit into any sort of gender stereotype. You may notice that neurotypical girls become more competitive and hierarchical, maybe more so in primary school, although I did find that these behaviours started to manifest in about grade 5 or grade 6. It really helped me observing animals, which are my passion, to work out why girls in particular sometimes act in mean or unkind ways to their so-called friends. So sometimes you'll find that there are types of bullying that are psychological or emotional, kind of behind the scenes, behind your back. And I actually make this parallel to dominant horses, that sometimes dominant horses feel the need to keep others in line as they fear losing control and respect. But it's the true leaders that know how to keep a group calm, so be reassured. Teenagers can also become interested in flirting in relationships. Suddenly social cues may become more complex, which for me was like, whoa, I just mastered the basics. Give me some leeway. And I found it very difficult communicating, for example, the difference between me being friendly to boys and actually flirting with them. So there was some difficulties with my body language there. But over time, people accepted that they were just my different ways of communicating. And I decided that flirting in that sense wasn't for me, but gradually over time I started watching TV shows and observing other people, and I got a sense for what it looked like and how to pick up on when there were wrong vibes I was giving off, which can leave us vulnerable at times. So just be aware of that. That's particularly for parents as well in preparing your children. A lot of teens also will be probably influenced by their peers. Some autistic individuals may not. Some of us may learn to mask. I gravitate personally towards the more quirky characters. So many of my friends are either neurodivergent, on the spectrum, or I've diagnosed them. So, and often I gravitated towards minority groups such as the LGBT community and the international students that also had communication issues. So they were able to relate to my issues with not feeling like I fitted in at times and things like that. And often the friends I made with the subjects I was interested in, so art class or like classes that happened during lunchtime that were optional, because often when you go to groups like that are in a specific area of interest, you'll find those that are actually interested in the subject. Teens may be more interested in fashion and clothes, keeping up with trends and participating in risky behaviour, and for me I found this less relatable. Do not feel like you have to fit in order to find and make friends. True friends will love you for yourself, not for the mask. It's okay to say no. And I've known people that have masked and gone along with the crowd, and it's caused out burnout and sadness, and it's really not worth it. Parents, to help prepare with your child, definitely recommend doing scenario building. Help them learn about the perspectives of other teens and learn and teach them how to say no. Tell them it's okay to say no. Often I wasn't prepared for things like using illicit substances and doing risk-taking behaviour, but my parents helped me prepare for situations and what to do in those situations, and I was able to say, look, I'm not comfortable with that. And this saved me from potentially regretful situations.